Hi everyone, my name is Aneta, also known as Cross-Stitch Vienna, and this is my first ever Flosstube. It's going to be very awkward because I have never recorded myself like this before. Actually, no, that's not true. I've done it once. That was I think second or third year of my bachelor's degree, and we were supposed to do an elevator pitch. The idea is if you work in startup that you meet someone random in the elevator and they ask you what do you do, and you're supposed to very quickly explain to them your startup history or idea, but also in a way that interests them in you. It's quite challenging when you think about it because how do you decide what to say? Anyway, so this is my first ever floss tube, not the last one for sure. I've decided to commit to it. I bought a webcam. I bought a proper stand for the camera so I can adjust it. I can also do flat lays right now, so videos where the camera is looking down and I can record myself cross-stitching if I wanted to do that. This will come in the future because I decided that I need to do more content, keyword optimization and videos, a path I had not explored yet. And if you are in the cross-stitch community, you know that Flosstube is just a really exciting space for designers and also cross-stitchers. And it's just a very cozy way of sharing what you're doing. A lot of people prefer videos versus reading or looking at images on Instagram. I totally understand it. I have also recently gotten into watching different floss tubers, and it is cool. It's nice seeing what other people are doing. I learn a lot. I have a little agenda here, which I wrote for myself, just so I don't forget what I'm supposed to talk about. So first off, on my list, I need to look at, at this spot because I have a video feed here, but the camera is here. So if I look to the side, I'm not ignoring you. I'm just naturally trying to avoid eye contact, which I do in real life as well. So as I said, my name is Aneta. I am the owner of Cross-Stitch Vienna, which is now an online store that sells Gothic, creepy, morbid cross-stitch charts. Also true crime cross-stitch charts. I somehow ended up in this vertical. I sell digital cross-stitch charts, so I don't do kits. As the name suggests, I am based in Austria, in the capital of Austria, in Vienna. I am myself not Austrian. I come from Poland. I moved to Austria in 2015, and I have been living here since then. So it's 10 years now. I asked on Instagram if you had any questions for me that I could answer in this first floss tube, and people did ask 3 questions, quite relevant for the first ever floss tube. Some of the other ones were a bit more specific on some of the cross stitch topics. The first question that I would love to answer is from Mina, who is a cross-stitch designer, a new cross-stitch designer in the creepy, spooky cross-stitch scene. She goes by Haunted Whiskers. And if you like cute, beautiful cross-stitch charts, you should visit her. I'm going to put the link to her coffee in the video. So she asked, how did you get into cross-stitch and fiber arts? How to explain it? Because it goes back to my childhood, my life back in Poland, actually. My parents had I think you would call it a seamstress workshop, what we in Poland call szwalnia, professional grade seamstress workshop. So my dad used to go to the needlework stores, the wholesalers. So he would get the threads, plies, he would get the fabric. And one day, for some reason, I don't really know why he did that. So he brought me this printed cross stitch kit. It was this very old fashioned ball of fruit. And I remember being in secondary school, sitting in my room, listening to music on my MP3 player and cross stitching, and it was just very enjoyable. I did that. I never finished that kit. I don't know where it is. I think it had gotten lost somewhere. I moved away from Poland in 2009, and I did not take it with me. There was this massive break between back when I was a kid and I got that cross-stitch kit from my dad and the pandemic in 2020. I think all of us were just tired of being online and passively consuming all of the negative news. I just felt like I needed a break. I needed to do something else. I needed to do something with my hands. For some reason, the idea of cross stitch, this relaxing hobby where you just sit down and stitch and you don't have to look at your screen, you can just really unplug, that appealed to me. But for some reason, I cannot tell you why, I decided I'm going to design a chart for myself. And I started researching online how to design your own cross stitch chart. I decided to cross stitch a pet portrait for my younger sister, for her very cute but just weird personality wise dog called Kibu. And I took a picture of Kibu, I cleaned it up in Photoshop, and then I fed it through one of the picture to cross stitch pattern converters online. I cannot remember which one it was. I gave it 2 tries. I really enjoyed the process. I enjoyed stitching, and shortly after that, I think I finished cross stitching in winter 2020. After that, I just decided to design more because it was fun. I designed a couple of very basic looking charts. They were not creepy yet. They were not in this Gothic vertical that I sit in right now. They were just some mainstream-ish charts that I thought looked fun. I never stitched them, actually, funny enough. I just love the idea of designing. So I decided also to share them for free with people on the internet. And instead of dropping the PDFs of my patterns somewhere in a subreddit or in a Facebook group, I decided that I will set up a website. By profession, I am a digital marketing professional. I've been doing it for 13 something years because I started working in marketing already in the second year of my bachelor's degree, which was in advertising and public relations. And I've been doing a lot of strategic marketing, digital marketing, event marketing, email marketing. Like everyone, I pivoted towards digital. I have gradually, throughout my career, learned how to install WordPress websites. I work in search engine optimization and generative engines optimization. That's my primary service, I would say. I'm a consultant. To me, it was just natural. I'm going to create a WordPress website and decided to call my brand. I wasn't thinking that far. I decided to call it Cross-Stitch Vienna because I am based in Vienna. It's a good keyword. It's simple. It was one of these things where I was like, I'm not going to overthink it. I'm just going to name myself this and move to more important and fun things, such as designing a visual identity for Cross-Stitch Vienna. The timeline. Yes, the 5th of January 2021, Cross-Stitch Vienna website goes live. And I began sharing cross-stitch patterns for free. And as I was getting into the world of cross stitch, I came across some spooky and creepy designers. You will know them. So NightSpiritStudio, Witchy Stitcher. There was Gothic, which became famous because one of her designs was trending on BuzzFeed. I discovered that actually cross stitch can be creepy, and I am a creepy person. I like morbid things. I like morbid topics. I'm into true crime podcast books. I love horror movies, like reading messed up manga and anime, specifically psychological anime, horror anime. I really, really got into the creepy, spooky side of cross stitch, and I love that this alternative cross stitch exists. And back then, when I discovered it, I was just like, whoa, that's something that I want to do more of. And I was looking at the original files for No Body, No Crime design, which was the first design in the true crime series, which I came up with. I have no idea what made me design this. I have no recollection as to why I thought this was a great idea. On the 19th of January 2021, according to the file, I had created this design. And shortly afterwards, Nobody No Crime, Nobody No Worries followed, and people really loved these designs. At some point, I think Nobody No Crime version 2, because I have two versions of it, that had around 3,000 downloads on its own. 2021, I closed the year with 1,500 total downloads. Next year, December 22, I registered 6,000, and then 2023 we closed the year with 12,000, almost 13,000 downloads. So as I was working through Cross-Stitch Vienna patterns and kind of getting away from the mainstream themes and going more into creepy and Gothic, the evolution of Cross-Stitch Vienna was pretty much go from just digital patterns without any significant theme to the spooky, creepy, Gothic cross-stitch sphere, which I'm really enjoying right now. And in 2024, so last year, on the 20th of August, I closed the free charts phase of Cross-Stitch Vienna. The final download count was 17,513 downloads. And I converted Cross-Stitch Vienna from the website that shared exclusively free charts to an online store in November last year. So this is where we are at. This is how I have gotten into fiber arts. My cross-stitch idea list is really, 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 really long. I don't think there's enough time for me to actually realize every single idea on that list, but I am slowly designing things in my own time, at my own pace, because some of you have already read or heard me moaning about my master's thesis. So I am currently in the master's thesis writing phase of my master's degree. I study content strategy, which is a fairly new discipline. I would say 2010 it has started going mainstream, a new field that deals with content as a business critical asset. So everything that you as a brand publish, starting from the obvious, which is social media captions, for example, marketing materials, to your internal communications, internal technical writing, or customer service, customer help files, all of it, it's important part and extension of your brand. I'm writing my master's thesis on the topic of brand communities. It's relevant because community is a big part of cross-stitch experience. Even though people might not necessarily actively participate, they still will reach out to different communities, like ones that are built on Facebook or Reddit, to ask questions, to discover things, to seek recommendations. So this is a topic that really interests me also from a psychological point of view, from like social interactions point of view, and this is what I'm writing about right now. But it takes up a lot of my time. I mean, you can expect it's a master's thesis. I've just finished doing my research part, and I just need to sit down, analyze it, and wrap up and just move away from this phase of my life, which is very tough. I've done everything but write in the last couple of weeks, including starting this Flosstube channel. So, second question. So this one comes from Nora, my partner in crime, my partner in cross-stitch. Nora is the owner of Winter Tagtraum. So Nora is a thread dyer, a yarn dyer. She sells beautiful embroidery threads made of cupro, which is referred to as vegan silk. The quality of them is insane. I already shared some of the creations made with them on my Instagram channel if you wanted to take a look. And Nora also hand dyed threads for one of my recent pattern releases. All the threads are beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. I love them so much. They're so shiny. They're absolutely beautiful. And Nora asked me, what are your best tips to start stabbing? What do you wish people had told you before you started? I think the most important one, not even as a cross-stitch designer, but just a cross-stitcher, is to wash your hands, especially if you had eaten something before, because even though your hands might not be visibly grimy, there are natural oils. There's dirt that you cannot see and it all transfers onto your thread. So I'm obsessed with washing my hands before I touch my cross stitch. That's the first one. The second one, probably not to stress about the number of supplies that you need to start cross stitching. When I started to cross stitch back when I was in secondary school, when my dad gave me that printed kit, was I didn't have a hoop. I didn't have special scissors. I didn't have bobbins to store my thread. Like it was just very spontaneous. It was just pure joy of sitting down and cross stitching. So you don't need all of these. You don't need all of these needle minders. You don't need project bags. You can just sit down and cross stitch. You don't need an embroidery hoop. Some people even prefer not to use it, even though they have been stitching for quite some time. I met this amazing lady during a recent cross stitch retreat in England, my first cross stitch retreat, and she was cross stitching this huge canvas. It was a full coverage chart of Alice in Wonderland. She said she doesn't use an embroidery hoop. She prefers to stitch without it. The quality of her cross stitch, like the stitches were so even. It was absolutely beautiful. So you don't have to stress about it. Of course, you're gonna buy this stuff anyway, because once you are surrounding yourself with cross stitchers, you will want to have this stuff. I want to have this stuff. I want to buy it all. When I was in England, I got my first grime guards. I got my first project bags. I only started discovering the world of hand-dyed threads and fabrics and needle minders and project bags and cross-stitch stands and whatever as I began participating in the online forums, because people happily share things that make them happy, you know. In Vienna, we are blessed with the number of needlework stores, ones that have history, ones that have been around for quite some time. They are owned by people that know a lot about embroidery, fiber arts. When I want to try something, I mean, I already have a lot of knowledge, because once you start designing your charts, when you start cross stitching, you just accumulate this knowledge naturally, and then if you are committed to learning like I am, you just get better. But if I hadn't known what I know, if I had gone to one of the stores and asked, they would be able to really advise me properly and help me navigate this new hobby. Yeah, so wash your hands. You don't need all of the fancy cute things. You will probably buy them anyway, but you don't need them to start. And as a cross-stitch designer, if you start getting into cross-stitch seriously, just to have some sort of a system for recording what you have, especially when it comes to threads, created my own cross-stitch inventory in Google Sheets, because I did not know what I had in my inventory at some point, and it was just very difficult to design and then test stitch if you were like, oh, all of the things that I have put in the chart, all of the threads that I want to use, I don't have them, so I have to wait, order them, and not be able to test stitch my idea immediately. Just whatever helps you keep track of the supplies that you have. Also, fabric can really get out of hand so quickly. I just had another delivery of fabric because I have a new design that I really wanted to stitch on. Very, I would say it's kind of like a beige background. So I had something similar, but it wasn't the correct count. I wanted it to be on 18 or higher count. So I ordered this 18 count Aida fabric from Yarn Stories, I believe, and it just arrived. So I will log this as well. I started logging my fabrics, I started logging my projects, because otherwise it just gets all over the place. Especially if you're a designer. I test stitch all of my designs myself. Yeah, you have to be a bit of a project manager if you're doing that. I said there were 3 questions, did I not? So the last one, how do you convert pixel art to cross stitch? And that comes from someone that is a very talented pixel artist. And they were asked at one of the markets if they would consider selling their art as cross-stitch patterns. Honestly, you just need to find a program. There are programs that you pay for, like WinStitch. I use WinStitch for my cross-stitch designs, or you can use some of the free cross-stitch design tools that are available. You can just Google them. Translate your designs into cross-stitch. If you are a pixel artist, I would say one of the things that you need to mind is even though cross stitch is technically almost the same as pixel art, you need to be mindful of the color changes, because when it's pixel art, you can be really liberal with different shades or the placement of the pixels. But when you are cross stitching that design, if you've converted something very complex to cross stitch, if there are a lot of color changes, if you have like 50 different colors for a very small designs, it can get tiresome for a cross stitcher. I'm not saying don't make your cross stitch pattern as close to the original pixel art, but remember that if you're stitching it, you have to be mindful of color changes or planning this project. So yeah, like convert your pixel art to match the medium that it's going to be featured in. I know there are some designers that started as pixel artists and became very popular cross stitchers, and I know from people that stitched their designs that they have to take breaks because of the color changes, that they get a bit complex. It's not a criticism, it's just the reality of these designs, that they are direct conversion of pixel art, which tends to be really really colorful, beautiful. But when you translate that to cross stitch, then people struggle with these singular color drops that they have to take into consideration when cross stitching the charts. Some people like that kind of challenge. Some people get frustrated. I think that it's worth remembering that you need to be mindful of the medium that you are working with. You're designing cross-stitch patterns, definitely test stitch them. I learned the hard way that the color swatches in WinStitch do not match. Well, they cannot match the real thread completely, but sometimes they're just complete mismatch. And even though I can edit them myself, so I've adjusted some of the color palette in WinStitch for my DMC digital swatches, I still think that it's just impossible to tell how the design would look like unless you stitch it. Adjust, see if you see how that conversion from one type of art to another looks like in real life. So take your time when you're doing that. So that's it. The second video will be about the World Cross-Stitch Day. This is a Cross-Stitch Day plan, which you can get for free from my website. If you are a Cross-Stitch Vienna customer, if you aren't, but you would like this plan, you need to comment on an Instagram post, and I will send this printable to you as a PDF through direct message. So I'm doing a 24-hour cross-stitching event on the 8th of August, which is the World Cross-Stitch Day. And if you would like to join, you can find the details about the event on my Facebook page. And also there is a very cool initiative from the Creepy Cross-Stitch Collective. So what we are doing is we are running sale event through the entire July, where 10 stores, Cross-Stitch Vienna included, are offering discounts on their products, and you can stock up on fabric and cross-stitch patterns before the World Cross-Stitch Day and join us and make the World Cross-Stitch Day a bit more creepy, because I think it would not be a bad idea. Yes, so I will talk more about that in the next Flosstube, and I also will show you some of the things I'm working on. We'll see how that's going to work. I look forward to your feedback, and if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments, or you can message me on Instagram and I will get to them. That's that, and see you in the next video. Bye!